What's going on, everybody? This is Jeff with Living in Arizona, and today we are going to talk about the pros and cons of living in Arizona. If you are new to this channel and you are thinking about moving to Arizona or you're new here, then you're going to want to subscribe because we talk about relevant issues here in Arizona. Also, like the video if you do like it. Thank you. Let's go ahead and kick it off with the pros and cons. So, we'll talk about the pros first. Now, some of the things that are pros may be considered cons by others, right? So, one such pro is the nightlife. So, pros in Arizona. Arizona is actually known for its nightlife. It's a booming nightlife. There's a lot to see and do. Now, if you live out in the rural areas, it's not so much nightlife, right? But if you live closer to Mill Avenue or Old Town or some of these other areas around the Biltmore, Arcadia in Phoenix, or maybe Sedona or Tucson around U of A, because Arizona's a big state. It's more than just Phoenix, right? But the nightlife in Arizona is pretty good. It's also fairly trendy and modern. It's not, behind the curve. We have everything from hip hop culture, pop culture to country music culture with Country Thunder. If you guys like festivals, go to Country Thunder if you're a country fan. We've got also mariachi music. If you're into Mexican culture, we've got that. And Arizona's just got a very rich diversity in cultural trends, if you like that kind of stuff. So if nightlife's important, in particular in Phoenix and in some of the areas of Phoenix, it's a really great place for nightlife, and that's pretty well stated and known, right? Now, also, I consider this a pro, but it could be a con. It's more affordable. You get a lot of bang for your buck in Arizona, but at the same time, you get more bang for your buck in other places like Pennsylvania and some of the other places. But comparatively, for as awesome of a place it is compared to other places, that is a pro. The cost of living. I mean, if you compare it to California, our neighbor, it's way more affordable. If you compare it to Hawaii or something, it's way more affordable. But even Seattle, like for a West Coast state, is pretty affordable. So that's good. Also, if you want to look north to Utah, we're also more liberal in the sense that we're not as strict as Utah. Utah's got fairly strict laws. Arizona's got a lot of the same attributes that Utah has, but it's not as strict. It's not as tense, right? Utah is very strict, mostly because of their religion background that they have up there with Mormonism, which makes it more strict. That's just the way it is. I mean, if you look at their laws, you'll notice that. Another pro that I think is a good thing is the dry air. If you don't like dry air and you like humidity, then Arizona might not be for you, because Arizona does have dry air. That means no mold, no mildew, no car rust, very few mosquitoes or gnats. We do have flies, and especially if you're living in a place where there's cows and stuff. But overall, another pro is it's a fairly pleasant climate, especially from October to May. The heat is manageable. Drink a lot of water. Use an air conditioner. And kind of go towards the nightlife in the summertime, right? Now, another pro that I consider to be a pro, if you're into pro sports, we do have all four major sports teams, right? We have the Phoenix Coyotes, we have the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Arizona Cardinals, and the Phoenix Suns. So if you're into sports, you want to move to Phoenix if that's important to you. Tucson has college. We have University of Arizona, and Flagstaff only really has one sports organization up there. That's Northern Arizona University. So that's NAU. I would say also Arizona is relatively clean. Outside of tap water, the water is a little bit of an issue because obviously we're in a desert. So that's kind of an issue, I guess. But it is relatively clean. I mean, there's low smog. They've done a great job of cleaning up the smog. Limited trash and litter around the city. But you don't see a lot of pedestrians walking on the street, but considering that it is pretty clean. Now, some of the cons that you might really be turned off about. I mean, we'll keep going into some pros and cons, but let's talk about some of the cons because maybe you guys don't have enough time. But the it does lack culture. At the same time, it has culture. It does also lack that cultural identity, really like that rich cultural identity that you would have in New England, because it is a new state. It is a transient state. People come from far and wide, so it does lack that culture. Although it does kind of have that southwestern Mexican influence. But then again, people come from the north, and it kind of waters that down. So, but we do have this Santa Fe style, Southwest style architecture and design. But it does still, at the end of the day, you don't exactly identify with too much culture like you would feel in New England or somewhere else, right? So it also, you can also feel like you're having like the heat. The heat just kind of creates this bubble feeling, this awkwardness. Like, you know, it's really nice and cool inside, but the second you go outside, it's like a sauna. It's suffocating heat at times, right? In the middle of the daytime, 3 or 4 o'clock in the middle of July can really be suffocating heat. Intolerable heat. So that creates this really weird balance of like going inside and outside, inside your car, even outside your car. I would say that the job market is pretty decent, but it could be a little bit better because I don't think the high paying jobs are here like there are in other places. But the job market can be a bit frustrating, especially if you're looking for really high paying jobs. But if you're okay with 50,000 and under, Phoenix has got a pretty good base of jobs for that. But if you're looking for strong paying jobs, Arizona, Phoenix doesn't necessarily have that. Another thing about Tucson, Phoenix, Flagstaff, the downtown areas are lacking. I mean, if you were to say, or Prescott even, you know, like where's the real culture and the vibrance? I mean, Phoenix is supposed to have it. They've been trying to overhaul that downtown area, but it just doesn't have it. Neither does downtown Tucson. Neither does really downtown Flagstaff, or I guess, you know, Whiskey Row and Prescott has it, but it's just so small. I mean, you know, it's nothing really to write home about, right? But another thing that is a con, in my opinion, is the lack of public transportation systems. The buses are okay if you're in the city in Phoenix, but there's no trains and there's no rail to get around Phoenix, and that urban sprawl, it's just so spread out that can be really frustrating at times. Another thing, Phoenix has been known to be a crime-ridden place in certain areas, and it's also known to be very safe in other areas. So do bear that in mind. Depending on where you live in Phoenix, I mean, it can be high crime, and then it can be also extremely low crime in a lot of other areas. So the more rural you are, the lower the crime rates, right? So that's something to keep in mind. But they say that we do have an overall crime rate that is higher than most states, which I don't know necessarily if that's going to be true. Another con that people can get kind of frustrated with, well, I guess it ties in, it's that urban sprawl, just having to drive, being so dependent upon a vehicle. Like, that's really frustrating. And because it is hot, it's hard to grow a lot of plants. Like, you're not going to be able to grow a lot of plants because during the summertime it's going to kick their butts, basically, right? But now going back towards some pros before we go back into some more cons. Some pros also, there is, I would say, a lot of outdoor stuff to do. You've got in northern Arizona, you've got Havasupai Falls near the Grand Canyon. You've got Petrified Forest in the north. You've got Canyon de Chelly in the north. You've got Sedona, Flagstaff. You've got Oak Creek Canyon. Then in the south areas, you know, you've got Lake Pleasant, Saguaro Lake, Canyon Lake, Roosevelt Lake, and then you've got Horseshoe Lake, Bartlett Lake. So you've got a lot of lakes. Even if you're down in Tucson, you've got Mount Lemmon. You know, there's Sunrise Ski Resort, there's Snow Bowl Ski Resort, and then like even down south, you've got Oregon Pipe National Park. You've got the dunes down there by Glamis in California, but even in Yuma. You know, there's Lake Havasu. It's a great place if you like to lake and go on boats, and even if you like to go to the rivers, you can go to the Verde River, the Salt River tubing. So there is some stuff to do. As far as like having a Disneyland or anything like that, we're yet to have one of those. And I would say our water parks are pretty good, but we could use like a little bit more. Like one great water park, like we have in Phoenix, for example, we have Water World, which I think has changed its name. We have Golfland, Sunsplash, Big Surf. The water parks are pretty good. and the kids will like it, but it would be nice if we could get this like really nice water park, especially in a place like Phoenix. There is talk that they're going to build one in Casa Grande, like this wonderful theme park place. I think it's called Aqua Venture or Aqua Park or something like that. No, I don't remember the name of it, but you can look it up. Disneyland style resort in Phoenix or in Casa Grande, and that's going to change the whole prospects of Casa Grande, really. But that proposed site is going to be at I-10 and I-8 interchange. So if that does indeed get built, that will change the that will definitely increase the fun and the things to do in Arizona for sure. Another thing to consider about a pro is Arizona overall does have lower tax burden than most states, so that's pretty good. The quality of healthcare in Arizona tends to be slightly better than most states also, so that's something to consider. The cost of living, yet again, it can be kind of high. It can be kind of, depending on where you are coming from and what you're used to, right? But overall, I'd say that's a good thing. I would say that compared to most states, Arizona doesn't have the best farming or the best food in the grocery stores. Like I've been in California and some of these other places where you see like an abundance of very fresh food. I guess because in central San Joaquin Valley in California, they have, the farming capital of the world. So it's easy for San Diego and San Francisco and LA to get nice fresh food. Phoenix, I don't know if they necessarily would have like fresh veggies and fruits like they do in California or even in other places. So that's something to keep in mind. But overall, it is pretty comfortable. You're not gonna like feel like you're in you're not gonna feel like you're in Hawaii or anything, but you will feel like you're living a pretty good, steady life with opportunities. You won't feel oppressed. You won't feel like too far behind the curve in Arizona. I mean, it's trendy. It's up and coming. It's got the stuff to keep you excited. And if you're not excited here and you're depressed, it might just be a matter of you like not getting out enough and getting to know people and even going out to the bars. But for the most part, when you get out into it all, you should be happy. I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10 as far as quality of life in Arizona overall in the whole state, it's about a 7 to 8. It could be higher, it could be lower depending on what you like. But for me, it's about an 8. The only things that it's really lacking for me is ocean and efficient public transportation and a vibrant downtown area and maybe a theme park. If it had all that, it would be probably a 10. It's got the rest is in place. It's modern. It's got good roads. It's got healthy infrastructure. The people are pretty friendly. Although depending on who you ask, they could say that a con would be that people are a little bit rednecky, a little bit like desert radish, maybe a little bit too conservative for them. And uneducated, that has been said by some. I would not go so far as to say that. I would say people are, for the most part, pretty friendly. I look at it as a pro, but some could look at it as a con. Okay. Now, if you guys have any other questions about Arizona and you'd like to see me make a video, go ahead and post a comment below. Let me know what you guys would like to see a video on, and we'll see you guys next time.